I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with a very talented author. Her name is Leslie Kain, and she is presenting a remarkable work. It is called Secrets in the Mirror. It is a psychological drama exploring the intricate and often tumultuous dynamics within a dysfunctional family. The novel navigates the complex interplay of addiction, abuse, and the dark underbelly of organized crime. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her remarkable book. The links are below this interview. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
We're glad to be here.
This is quite a tale you tell within the pages of this book, Secrets in the Mirror. What's your inspiration?
Well, one of the things that you didn't mention when you introduced the book were the magic words narcissism and mental illness.
Yeah.
So with my background in psychology, those are the things that intrigue me the most. What's going on in the heads and the hearts of my characters. And so I was inspired by two things to write this book. First of all, there's a well-known political figure who has been diagnosed with malignant narcissistic personality disorder. And that I find that very intriguing that that political figure would be influencing politics and the way of life in the United States and indeed around the world. But then I started to think, well, what would happen if there were a malignant narcissist in a family who visits their gaslighting and abuse on other family members? How could I make it worse? Oh, identical twins. So that gave birth to this concept. And I was also inspired by knowing a family where two sisters, that dynamic developed in late teens, where one developed narcissism and began gaslighting and psychologically manipulating and abusing her sister. So all of those forces came together, and it just took life. Now, when I write, my characters they become imbued in me, and I begin to understand them. They speak to me, and a plot that I may have thought was going to be the case starts changing because they tell me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, and what I'm missing.
Right.
So it sort of evolves organically.
Wonderful. You've heard of method acting. That's sort of like method writing, where the character lives within you and the words come forth from that. That's great. Tell the folks at home what the title Secrets in the Mirror is about.
Well, it has two meanings. First of all, these identical twins are identical mirror twins. So they're not only reverse physically, where their signature calic appears on the right of one twin and on the left of the other twin, and other asymmetric indications of reverse. But it's also because the dysfunction is multi-generational. It repeats like down a hall of mirrors from one generation to the next. Now, this one twin who has narcissism didn't come by that genetically, because narcissism is not a genetic characteristic. Narcissism develops because of parenting styles. And their father was himself a bully. And he was born in a culture where one had to be macho and the winner and forces that onto one of the twins, and sort of leaves the other twin, the character from, who is the point of view in this book, leaves the other twin to feel like he's the loser, and his only job in life is to take care of his brother and keep him out of trouble of his own making. So it has sort of this triple entendre, right?
Mm. Yeah. Tell us a little bit. We know the story of Narcissus, a Greek mythology, fell in love with his own reflection in the water, and I believe drowned trying to hug himself. But it's more than self-love or an over-exaggerated importance of self. Tell us a little bit about the characteristics of a narcissistic personality.
Well, first of all, sort of the biggest thing to understand is that narcissists project an image that they want the world to accept and believe, even if that means twisting and lying reality. But they're also doing that for themselves. They know that what they're saying, oh, I'm so great, I'm the winner, I get straight A's, they know that's not the truth. But they don't want anyone else to know that that's not the truth. The most horrible fear that a narcissist has is the fear of being found out to be a fraud, that there's nothing underneath. That becomes a life-threatening fear, a truly life-threatening fear. And if you start to expose the narcissist's lies, they come back with a force that is like defending their own life, like they're being attacked. They will psychologically perish if they're found out to be a fraud. So that's why they have to manipulate other people's reality, thus gaslighting.
Yeah.
Not only gaslighting so that their target doesn't believe what they see, their target also starts doubting themselves, their own reality. So it becomes a devastating impact. So the impact of Devon, just keep in mind, devious, demented Devon, the impact of Devon on Gavin, goody Gavin, the impact on Gavin becomes a life sentence. In the next book, which I just got the cover today.
Wonderful.
The next book, Gavin ends up suffering hugely from complex PTSD because of the unremitting, unrelenting abuse that he received during his formative years, during his childhood years. And then when violent deaths occur in Secrets in the Mirror, he's at a loss and his whole persona comes tumbling down. And he becomes a danger to himself and to his wife and child. So stay tuned for the next book.
Well, wonderful. We will stay tuned for the next book. It sounds like you've really come up with a great way to educate people while entertaining them as well. Was that one of your goals? Educate them about some of the
Yes.
pathologies of psychology? Talk to me about that.
Definitely. Well, and this was not in the original plan. Gavin told me that I had to do it. Okay. So it evolves, the story evolves so that when he starts feeling the abuse, he's called into the office of the high school counselor, who is a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist ends up becoming his lifelong advocate, helping him understand what's going on, how he's being hurt, how he's being impacted. And it continues into the next book as well. Dr. Peterson doesn't go away, and he educates Gavin, and not only on what's happening to him, but educates Gavin on this is what you can do, you can possibly do to protect yourself from this, so that it doesn't become a lifelong sentence. It ends up becoming a lifelong sentence anyway, because at one point, Dr. Peterson says, after Gavin says, I know you've told me that before. I know you've told me that before. I can't stick to it. And Dr. Peterson says, you know, if this were fiction, I could tell you once and everything would be cool. But this isn't fiction. It's so embedded in you. You have to struggle with it over and over and over.
Wonderful. It's a wonderful story. Very, very compelling, very, very gripping. Have you envisioned this as a movie, perhaps, or a series of films or TV series?
That's such a good question. I've been asked by, or urged by many people who've read it, that it should become a series, like a Netflix series or a movie or whatever. And in fact, one studio, an unknown approached me, and I said, no. And I actually had never anticipated, even when the book was all done, I hadn't even anticipated that there would be a sequel. I thought, okay, well, that's it. It's over and done. Well, Gavin had different ideas. He came to me one early morning when I wasn't totally fully awake.
Right.
Now, wait a minute. There's some loose ends that you didn't tie up. And in order to tie them up, I've got to take care of it. And it's going to be dangerous. And do you really think I'm okay after what you put me through? And he sort of outlined what was going to happen. And so what lies buried is the sequel, and the subtitle is Doesn't Stay Buried.
Wonderful. Well, you've got the titles down, that's for sure. They say you can't judge a book by the title, but the title certainly is what draws you to the book first. So I think you're doing a great job with that for sure. Your book also talks about Secrets in the Mirror, talks about addiction, abuse, and of course, the mob. Tell us about those elements in your story.
Well, the twins' father comes from a mob culture. He was born and raised in the Italian North End of Boston. And the twins' grandfather came over from Italy and played around with the mob in the North End of Boston. And so that culture, the macho culture where men had to be tough, is what hurt the twins. And so, I'm from Boston. I understand all about the mob. So.
And it also pertains to a lack of empathy, which of course is at the heart of a lot of psychological pathologies, right? Absolutely.
Right. And one of the ways that narcissists have of dealing with their own self-doubt is often through alcohol and drugs. And so Devon becomes involved not only with the mob, but with alcohol and drugs.
Wonderful. Great, impactful stories, that's for sure. Leslie Kain has crafted a novel that you won't want to put down. Fortunately, there's a sequel coming, so that is good news. The name of the book is Secrets in the Mirror. It is a psychological drama that explores the tumultuous dynamics of a dysfunctional family and looks at the interplay of narcissism, addiction, abuse, and even the dark belly of organized crime. It's a wonderful book. The name of the sequel that's coming is called?
What lies buried?
Doesn't always stay buried, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful talking to you today, Leslie.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.